But thank you guys so much for having me. It's really an honor to be back here in the Philippines. I was here 2 years ago, and it was an amazing experience, so I'm happy to be back here again. Just going to be a short presentation, and the idea is really to get questions from you guys and have a conversation, because I think as media, you're as involved in this topic as I am, right? And so I think it's a really interesting topic to have an open conversation about, because it's a topic that is rapidly changing on a daily basis, right? Media today is not what media was 6 months ago, certainly not what it was a year ago or 5 years ago, and so it's an ever-evolving and rapidly evolving topic. So I think it's something that's very interesting to have a real discussion about. But having said that, when I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking, wow, this is really, it's an easy topic. There's so much to say about it. And then trying to put together a presentation, it's almost, where do you start? There's so many aspects of media. And when we talk about social media, there's so many new aspects that are affecting our population in ways that maybe we wouldn't have expected, that maybe weren't the intention when social media really started getting going. So I want to start by kind of looking at population, right? What is our world doing? How is our world changing? We know that in today's population, people are more aware of the importance of being active. They're more aware of, having gym memberships, working out, exercising, doing all of these things, okay? Awareness doesn't always translate into action, unfortunately, but what we're seeing is that there is a huge prevalence of people buying gym memberships and trying to become more active, right? And we look here in the Philippines, there was a report that I was reading that actually lists the Philippines as the fastest growing market in terms of purchasing gym memberships, okay? So the awareness is there. If we look at sports nutrition, that's also the fastest growing segment in the nutrition market, right? So if we look at year-over-year growth rates around the world, we're seeing a tremendous rise in sports nutrition. Okay, so again, people are aware. They know they need to be active. People are buying products, right? So they're engaging in sports nutrition. They're engaging in things related to a healthy, active lifestyle. But is it working? Right? So if you look at this map, what this is showing us is the percent of the world's populations that are either overweight or obese. Okay? What you see is the United States and Mexico are typically number 1 and 2 in terms of rates of percent of the population that are overweight. Obviously, coming from the United States, this is not something that we're proud of, but it's not getting better around the world. Okay, so what is happening? Right? We're seeing people buying more gym memberships, investing in sports nutrition, but we're still seeing a population that's increasingly getting heavier and getting sedentary in certain ways. Okay? So that's one side of the puzzle. Right? So when we start thinking about social media, we start thinking about sedentary behaviors and not living a healthy, active lifestyle. So that's one piece of the puzzle. But then we go on to the other aspect, the complete opposite spectrum, and we look at eating disorders. Okay, these are also on the rise, right? This need to be thin, this need to look a certain way, right? So how do we have a population that is both increasing in eating disorders, is also increasing in obesity, right? So it's a really interesting dynamic of how do we have both ends of the spectrum increasing at the same time, right? And how does the role of social media and media in general play into that? So if we look at some social media stats around the world, and this is something that our global social media team pulled for us, almost half of the world's population is engaged in social networks. Okay, so half of the world's population is looking online to see how should I look? How should the world be? How are other people living? What is going on? How do I now see the world through a different lens than maybe I would have seen it through 5 years ago, when I didn't have this glimpse into other people's lives or other people's networks, right? So almost half the world, 1 million new people are joining every single day, okay? So in some aspects, that's great, right? The world is becoming more connected. That has huge power in so many ways, okay? So when we look at how are people using it, on average, people are on social media over 2 hours a day. Okay. So now let's think about what are the recommendations for physical activity. Recommendations for physical activity: leading a healthy, active lifestyle, being active at least 30 minutes a day. So how does spending 2 hours a day on social media really hinder our ability to be active, right? But can it also help our ability to be active, right? We'll talk about some of those accounts in a second. People have on average 8 social media accounts. To be honest, I don't know how people do that. I have one, and it's hard enough to keep up with. But it's crazy, 8. So that's a lot of things to keep track of every single day. It's a lot of people that you're coming in contact with, a lot of people who you're potentially influencing and who are influencing you as well. Okay? Social media is the second most prevalent channel for brands. And that's a really interesting thing, and we'll talk about that in a second, is that how are we being influenced by brands without necessarily knowing it, right? The role of influencers has really started to play a huge role in how people make decisions on a daily basis. Okay, and here in the Philippines, people are spending an average of 10 hours a day on the internet. 10 hours a day. That's almost 50% of your day, right? That is a long time. So how do you, if you're spending that much time online, how do you have it have a positive impact rather than a negative impact, right? And what we're seeing is, unfortunately, it's not always a positive impact that social media in particular is having on the world's population, right? So just in general, this is what we're looking at in terms of social media channels. Facebook still globally the highest number of active users. It really depends on the country. In the United States, Instagram is growing rapidly, but I know here, Facebook is still very, very popular, right? So these are constantly changing. There's constantly ones that are added every single day. I have 2 younger half-sisters I have to call and be like, what is this new thing people are using? Every day, there's something new, right? How do you keep up with all of these new channels? But the question that we're starting to be faced with is it positive, right? Is social media having that positive impact that we are hoping for, right? And there's a difference. Males, females, they're using social media in a different way, and it's having a different impact, right? So typically, girls use social media more than boys, okay? Especially if we're looking at the younger population, the millennial population. They're using social media all of the time, right? This is becoming their reality, is social media. How they see their friends, how they see the world, how they see they're supposed to live. They're seeing it through social media, okay? And while there can be a lot of good benefits, and I think that's the challenge for us today, how do we turn these numbers that we're going to talk about into positive numbers, right? Because right now, look at this. So for people that are using social media, there's significantly increased rates of depression, right? So people that are using social media heavily, 30, 40% rates of depression. And so why is that happening, right? And with girls, even more than boys. So girls that are using social media, we're seeing significantly increased rates of depression. For people that are using 5 hours a day or more of social media, we see depression rates of almost 50% in girls, right? 35% in boys. Okay, that's terrible, right? How is something that's supposed to create community and bring our networks and our population closer together, why is this happening, right? And so I was kind of looking at these numbers and thinking, why is this happening? Why is it having this effect? And it kind of took me back to my psychology days, right? What are the human needs? What is a population, what is a person are we striving for every single day? Belonging. We want to feel like we belong to something. We want people to think that we're liked. We want to feel a sense of connection, okay? We want to have health. We want to have prosperity. We want to have safety, right? And now all of these things that you see on here, we're being compared to everybody every single day, right? So, well, this person has this many followers. This person's getting this many likes. This person has this. this person has this. And so now instead of being content with our own life, we're constantly in the state of being compared to other people, right? And it's not necessarily something that happens on purpose. It just kind of happens by the fact that this is what we're inundated with, right? We're all guilty of it. I follow a couple of different, female fashion bloggers, and I find myself watching these channels, and I'm like, oh, I want that. I want that. And they're just showing me their day, right? And their day, I don't know this person, right? But they've got this purse, or they have these clothes, or they have this stuff, and now all of a sudden you're starting to think, well, I don't have those things. A year ago you were perfectly content with your life. You had what you needed, right? But now this lifestyle that's being curated online, we start thinking, I don't have these things. I want these things. I need more. I need to look like this person, right? So how do we fight that, right? Same thing when we look at fitness. I want to look like that person. The problem is, you don't really know what that person actually looks like, right? I went to a Pilates class, and my Pilates teacher was like, hey, do you mind if someone else joins us today? I said, sure, no problem. She's like, oh, she's some Instagram blogger or whatnot, right? So I looked her up before class. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be super out of shape. This is gonna be terrible. I'm gonna be embarrassed in this class. And then this person shows up, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's you, and that's you. You don't look anything like what you look like online. No, I was looking at pictures. Afterwards, I went back and I looked at pictures. I was like, huh, interesting, right? Interesting what filters can do and what angles can do and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, Photoshop, exactly. We just don't know, right? And we're basing our happiness off of watching these accounts and seeing these people and saying, I have to look like this, right? And I don't look like this. Well, you know what? They also might not look like that, right? And so it's a really interesting reality of how do we then take what we see online and actually make something positive out of it, right? Because we do have the opportunity. Social media can be great. It can create communities. It can give you that support network. If you're going through a weight loss journey, or if you're trying to build muscle, you can build that amazing community, right? But you have to be very conscious of it, because it's so easy to fall into this trap of, what we see online, right? And what we see online has become very superficial on both ends, right? You see people that look super thin or look super fit that might not be. And now we've also kind of created this other aspect, this idea of the body positive movement. I don't know if that has caught on here. Yeah. And what I'm about to say might not sound great right off the bat, but just stick with me, okay? So the body positive movement is kind of the response to this, everybody looks super thin, I don't need to look really thin, I'm gonna love my body the way it is, okay? And yes, you should, okay? There's an amazing confidence that comes from that. But that movement, just like being super thin, is also based on image, okay? And we're not talking about health. We've really lost sight of what it is to be healthy, okay? Because we do know being overweight, being obese leads to serious health consequences, okay? So if we're loving our body, we've got to love it from the inside out, right? And that comes with how we move our body, how we put healthy food into our body. Just like we don't want to be too thin, we don't want to be too overweight either, right? So how do we create a culture where it's not about the image, it's about health, right? And what's actually happening on the inside of our body, okay? So what do we do, right? This sounds depressing and negative and all of this. What do we do about it, okay? Instagram has taken a couple of steps. First, they came out in an interview in June and basically said, we don't want Instagram to become a competition. And we're seeing it, right? We're seeing on every aspect, looks, wealth, lifestyle, car you drive, the house you have, all of these things. We want people to use Instagram as a community, okay? Which is gonna help you live a healthy lifestyle. Okay, it's going to be inspiring, it's going to be motivating. And so what they've started to play around with is the idea of hiding likes. Okay, I don't know if they're doing it here, they've done it in Australia, Ireland, they've started doing it in the United States. They're hiding likes. So you can't see and compare yourself. Well, this person got more likes than I did, so therefore they must, have more friends or be cooler or be better than me, right? Because all that can be fake too, right? You can buy likes, you can buy followers, you can buy all of these things, and it's not necessarily reality, right? And you can also have a lot of followers, and people think like, oh, that person must have 1 million friends in real life, right? We'll use me as an example, right? I have 40 some odd thousand followers on Instagram. My real life, I have a very, very, very tight-knit, close group of friends. I don't have 40,000 real life friends, right? Nobody doesn't have to be an elite athlete, but for me, the Herbalife 24 line has a lot of good quality protein combined with carbohydrates that really help me keep my protein intake up. So one of the products, Rebuild Strength, is something that I use, not just after I work out, but during the day as well. A lot of people think, oh, you can only use it as a post-workout, but just getting in that good quality protein is really important because that helps you stay full, and it also, by having enough protein, helps increase muscle mass, build your metabolism, which helps you burn calories faster.
Awesome. So, any more questions? Yes, C?
Hello, I would just like to ask, do you also agree that there's a rise in gym membership because of social media?
It's interesting. You do these studies, everybody knows the right answers. Are you supposed to eat fruits and vegetables? Are you supposed to exercise? Yes. We know what to say, right? But are we doing it? And that's where, finding those accounts that, maybe don't focus on going to the really expensive gym, but show you how to do a workout from your couch. You can do dips and push-ups and all that stuff in your home without costing you a lot of money, And so I think a lot of times we end up spending money because we think that's what we have to do, but the reality is we don't have to necessarily do that. We can do so much at home. There's a reason why you see rise in gym memberships in January, and then the gyms are empty by February. You have to set things that are realistic, and sometimes going to the gym isn't realistic, and maybe not something you like to do. I don't like going to the gym. I should eat at the gym. It's kind of boring, I would rather go outside or ride my bike or do yoga or Pilates or swim or something else, And so it's all about finding what you personally would like to do rather than doing what you see other people doing.
All right. So, please, before you ask the question, you please mention your name and the publications or blogs that you are connected with.
Hello po, I'm Bel Sorara from EL Broadcasting Corporation at 25 NBCEC Radio Aguila. Also a researcher and reporter health segment in our major newscast in Net 25. So my question is, how do we age gracefully with the use of social media? Do you have some recommendation? Because most of us here, or some lang, including me, are aged already. And in terms of food, activity, and supplements, what is your tips and recommendation? Thank you so much.
No, I think it's a great question, and I think that's where nutrition really comes into play. One of the things is we don't talk a lot about is protein as we get older, right? And that's something that becomes really, really important as we're aging, because once you get into your 30s, every decade after that you lose 3 to 5% of your muscle mass, right? And if we're not consuming enough protein, then we start running into issues with falling and other balance issues and things like that that can cause problems as we get older. But by consuming enough protein, we're able to maintain our muscle mass. And along with that, exercise, right? And so social media can be a great opportunity to find supportive groups and communities that are actually getting out and exercising. And so finding those groups on social media, maybe Facebook, that's a walking group or hiking group or whatever it is. And so you can maintain that sense of community, but also go out and do something in the real world, And so, find that inspiration online to go do it in real life.
How about foods and supplements? Do you also recommend What is your recommendation on the foods and the supplements?
Yeah, so protein is gonna be a really big one, like I said, because as you get older, proteins are made up of what we call amino acids. And our body is not as efficient at utilizing those amino acids as we get older. So compared to when you're younger, you actually need more protein as you start getting older. Maintaining your skin health is also something that's very, very important as we age. So paying attention to, our skin is our largest organ, right? So putting good quality skincare on your body is gonna actually help your skin. It's gonna help you from the inside out. And drinking water.
And last, Dr. Dane, how about those individuals who have medical conditions such as OA or osteoarthritis? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, with any medical condition, obviously wanting to talk to your doctor, right? But with any person, trying to be as active as you can, no matter how old you are, no matter what you're doing in life. I mean, finding those ways to get some activity, get your heart rate up. Obviously doing it under doctor supervision if you have any medical conditions, but there's always ways. Sometimes you just have to be a little bit creative. We'll go back to my example right now. I actually have a torn hip right now, so I can't be active the way that I normally am, right? So how do I find ways to still get my heart rate up? So it's, doing dips on my chair in my hotel room and, doing upper body weights. There's always ways to do little things and do them safely. They want to feel like they're liked. They want to feel this sense of love, and so everybody is kind of seeking that validation online. And it can be great if you're involved with a supportive community, but it can also be really negative if you're constantly looking at people that have things that you don't have, that you want, or have a body type that you want that you don't have. And so I think, there really is more similarities than there are differences.
Thank you.
Okay, so, hi, hello, my name is Angela from loveteachingangel.com. So, as a director from Herbalife, so how do you reinforce or motivate right now the people in social media in backing up Herbalife nutrition in terms of these problems? Because right now, that as we said, Filipinos are going to social media 10 hours a day. So, how do we back it up with the information Herbalife can give to help people with their physicality and their wellness?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the amazing things about our independent members, right? Is the things that they're showing online. Is these are some of the exercises I'm doing. This is what I'm eating. This is how I'm living my day to become the best version of myself. And so how do you then create, these direct message chats and these little independent groups that say, hey, I'm going to do this workout today. Come do it with me. Or, hey, I just had my shake today. Did you have yours? Or I had this day. Did you do this? And create this supportive community of like, hey, how can I help you today? Right? There's not enough of, hey, how can I help you out there as much as it can. And I think that's something that's amazing about the Herbalife independent members is that's what they're doing. They're creating this online community of support. Whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to gain muscle, or you just want to get into an exercise plan, and let me show you these couple exercises that I was doing, or hey, you know what, I'm going to be in the park today doing this workout, or that sort of supportive community. And I think the more we have of that, the friendlier and warmer and more positive and motivational the social media community landscape can be.
Okay, any more questions? Yes?
Hi, good morning. My name is Gus from clickdaily.com. Is there such a thing as a better source of protein?
Ooh, that's a great question. How much time do you have?
I don't have much time.
Okay,
Just-
I'll
just
keep it
skip
short
it.
then. So, the answer is yes, absolutely. Okay, so the most important thing when we're talking about protein is you want a complete protein. Okay, and by complete protein, we are talking about a protein that contains all of the essential amino acids. Okay, so every protein is comprised of a variety of amino acids. Okay, they're basically like little puzzle pieces. Okay, and of those amino acids, there's 9 that are considered to be essential. And what that means is that you have to eat them. Okay, your body cannot make them. And so we have to consume protein that has all of those essential amino acids. So it's easy in the animal-based protein world, those are complete proteins. So dairy, meats, those things. But when we look at plants, the only plant that's a complete protein is soy. Okay, so soy has all of those essential amino acids. So those are going to be your best sources of protein and things that have all of those essential amino acids.
Yes, Angela, the follow-up question.
Just a follow-up question. Since in US there's a lot of trends going on, like Kim Kardashian doing plant-based products now. So looking at it, so how does Herbalife products back up with those trends, like those kinds of trends like keto diet, different kinds of diets? How do Herbalife back it up with the products and the nutrition values that you have?
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the most important things that we focus on is everything is going to be backed by science. Okay, so you're not going to see the flashy fly-by-night trends, right? So these trends that maybe are called something today, but maybe 10 years ago they might have been called something else, right? All these things come back around, but what stays is balance, right? Good quality protein combined with good quality carbohydrates and healthy fats, okay? That's never going to go out of style, right? We know it might not be sexy, it might not be flashy, it might not be the coolest thing, but it's what works, right? If you look at our products, Formula One is going to be a soy-based protein, okay? So complete protein is going to give you all the essential amino acids you need. Herbalife 24 line is a whey and casein dairy protein blend. It's also going to give you the amino acids that your body needs. And so every ingredient, everything that's in there is going to be backed by science.
Okay, I think Gus has a follow-up question.
And can I have too much of soy?
I think with anything, right, everything needs to be in moderation. If you're referring to a lot of negative press about soy, a lot of that is kind of hype, right? And so that doesn't play out in the research that we see. But, as with everything, typically what we suggest is about 30% of your calories a day should be from protein.
Thank you, Gus. I think Mr. Nevisquera has a question.
It's just a simple question. I'm Nevisquera from Women's Journal. Why don't we have the aloe vera thing here in the Philippines?
We have it.
Yeah?
Yes.
Are you available to your distributors?
Yes, all the products are available through the
Okay.
members.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Hello again. By the way, my name is Ed. I'm a freelance journalist. I also have my own site, Science and Digital News. So I've been reading this press statement, and the title is How Filipinos Can Remain Healthy in the Age of Social Media. So can you please give us maybe 5 steps? How can you do that?
Yeah, first of all, follow accounts, again, that are going to encourage health, movement, and balance. I think that's something that's really, really important. Eliminate those sites that are focused on eliminating foods or only doing some flashy diet. If you're going to spend a half an hour online, then also go outside. Add more movement through your day on a daily basis, right? Put your phone away an hour before you go to bed. Make sure it's not the first thing that you look at when you wake up in the morning. And again, try to move while you're online. While you're looking at other people's pictures or posts or whatnot, do it while you're walking around, or do some jumping jacks, or do some squats, or do something so it's not just always sitting still looking online. We can move a lot. If we're spending hours a day online and on social media, we can certainly follow accounts that, maybe if you're going to look online, follow someone that's showing you a 10-minute workout, right? And 10 minutes of when you're online is actually you're doing that workout that they're showing you. So there's certainly ways to incorporate movement, while being inspired by social media.